So everyone and their dog is podcasting right now, but is starting a podcast the best way to go if you want to grow your business? Now, I've been thinking about this myself recently, and as you know, if you tune in and you're subscribed, I do a weekly YouTube episode and video, and currently at the time of this recording, I don't yet have a podcast. But it is something that I've been thinking about and I've been pondering, and I've been doing some massive research to see if this is a good next move for me and my business. Now, through all of this research that I've been doing, I believe that it absolutely is an amazing modality to get your brand and business information out there and build trust and credibility with your audience and build strong relationships with people that want to buy from you or join your business. I also believe that podcasting is a great way for somebody to start creating content online to attract people to them, especially the type of people that maybe are afraid or don't have time or the confidence to do video. People who are looking for another piece of real estate online or on social media to get their brand and business message out there. People who are looking to expand and grow their network, even if you have no one right now that follows you or pays attention to your posts. And for people who are really looking to increase their influence and the credibility of their brand. Now, obviously, I don't have a podcast yet, so why the heck should you listen to me? Well, you shouldn't. I'm still learning, but I do know a lot of really good people in a lot of really good places, and I thought since I'm doing all this research for myself, I thought you might want to come on this journey with me. Now, I've had the pleasure of watching a really good friend of mine and somebody close to me in my world take his brand from nothing, no podcast, to a very successful podcast, interviewing some very, very high level and successful people on his podcast and taking his podcast to a very successful level in his space. Now, because I've watched this growth from zero to hero in such a short period of time, I was really intrigued to pick his brain and learn exactly how he did it. And today I've had the opportunity to interview him and ask him all of the juicy details on why podcasting, how it successfully helped him grow his brand and his business, and where he's taking it to the next level. And I really wanted to interview him and ask him some questions that were on my mind to help me figure out if podcasting would be a great next move for myself, my business, my audience, and my brand to help grow the business on the back end. And because I was going to interview him anyways, I thought I'd bring him out on the show and have you peek in on this interview. So today I want to have a cup of joe with my good friend Ian Lenhart from Len Jones Party of Two podcast. Now, as I go through this interview, you're going to learn a lot of cool tips and strategies that you might want to utilize if you're thinking about starting a podcast. It'll also probably help you figure out if you do want to start a podcast and if it is a good next move for you in your business. Now, as we go through this interview, I also wanted Ian to put together something very special for you that will help you. And so inside of the interview, we also announce our free gear guide that we're giving you to help you decide if you want to start a podcast. And if you do, all of the things that you need to start the podcast, everything from a basic gear guide package to an advanced gear guide package. So we put this together especially for you, so you'll want to pay attention inside of the interview to hear how you can get your hands on that. So stay tuned. Welcome to episode 213. My name's Tanya Eliza, and I help entrepreneurs and network marketers create success fast, while most importantly, helping you to design a lifestyle that you love. If you're new here, consider subscribing and select to get notifications if you're watching on my YouTube channel, because I release a brand new episode with a free resource for you and your business each and every week. Oh yes, and also make sure to check the show notes below, because I leave a bunch of awesome extra cool resources, bonuses, tools, tips, and training that go along with the topic of the episode that you'll probably want to dive into that will help you in your business. Okay, so without further ado, I want to get into the awesome, powerful, and action-packed interview today with Ian Lenhart. Ian Lenhart is in the house today. I am so freaking excited to have my dear friend and total podcasting rock star on Tanya Eliza TV for episode 213. Give it up. Okay, so before we dive in, and I know, Ian, you are here to share a lot of juice when it comes to podcasting, and I've really seen you completely crush it in the podcasting space in such a short period of time. You've built some magnificent relationships, and I am truly selfishly excited to pick your brain because I've been actually thinking about podcasting for a little while for my business as well, and I really truly believe that it has a place for a lot of people. Before we dive into the interview and people get to know you and all of the juice that you're going to deliver today, I've got to ask, what is like the biggest success story either maybe one of your clients or somebody that you know or even yourself has experienced from podcasting?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Well, first of all, before I start, I just want to be very clear that taking the Ultimate Branding Blueprint, your course, really put me on this entire path towards building my own brand.
Thank you.
And that was like maybe a year and a half ago. And just like how far we've come in such a year and a half, I owe a lot to Tanya Eliza. I look at her as, you know, she's I'm her Padawan, and I'm just very grateful to be here. So I'm just letting anyone know that you can be here too if you follow the steps that she trains inside of the Ultimate Branding Blueprint. But with that said, with the podcast, you know, the best thing about podcasting is that it's evergreen content. So since you're building a long form communication on many different subjects and different episodes, you're basically in your client's ears. You're in your listeners' ears. And that's the name of the game in today's society. We live in a squirrel economy where everyone's losing focus so quickly. And watching a video is very challenging. It requires both your visual focus and your audio focus. But with podcasting, you can be dancing around, you can be walking around, you can be multitasking, building your business, talking about stuff. So for me, because I built an evergreen content list of episodes, like deep, you know, over 90 episodes, it's built a lot of credibility inside of my business and has created kind of an evergreen leads of people that have already listened to hours and hours of me talking. And now they're qualified that I can then move them into things like network marketing. So that's been amazing for my personal business and a success for my client. I think that is really interesting. When I built the course, it was originally built for people that are new to podcasting. They don't currently have a podcast, but one of my clients actually has a very successful podcast and she still bought the course. And she actually attributed the whole marketing portion of the podcast to her landing her dream guest and said it was one of the best, you know, lessons in actually how to bring on that person that you've been dying to meet. So that makes me so excited when good people connect with good people. I mean, what more can you ask for, right?
Yeah, and I love that. And this is something I actually learned from you, which I never even thought of before, was when you have a podcasting show like how you teach and you've implemented for yourself, is you get to bring on all of these rock star guests and pick their brain and learn from them, give them exposure so it's a win-win, and build these relationships that instantly boost your authority and credibility even if you have none right now. It's a really cool platform. And I was talking to you before we got on this interview, and I said, I think podcasting is really great for people who maybe initially might be a little bit shy to do video and still create content, because everybody knows like content is queen and king. It rules the roost online, and you have to just get out there some way and find your way to get out there. So I am so excited to dive in. So let's dive in. I truly believe that you have some good stuff to share. However, you know, we've known each other for a few years now, and I've gotten to know you over the years, which has been fabulous. But for people that don't know who you are and they're just meeting you for maybe the very first time, can you share with them how you got into podcasting, how it's helped you in your business, why podcasting, where did it all start for you in Ian's world?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, I just want to let everyone know it is a damn good day to have a damn good day. That's the philosophy. That's the motto. I try to wake up and live by that motto. And I got started into entrepreneurship actually in network marketing when I was 20 years old. And somebody hit me up saying, I have something you'd be dank at. I didn't know if I was selling drugs. I didn't know what they were talking about, but all I knew was I was open. that led me into my first opportunity. I had a lot of success, built a team of 1,600 people in 13 and a half months, hit the elite ranks, was living the dream, feeling real good. Life could not be better. But then, the lightning hit and the company got shut down overnight. So I was like, okay. That led me to do a little bit of soul searching, had a day-long pity party, 24 hours, try to keep it there. And ultimately led me to wanting to get into the startup world. Now, I love network marketing, but I also love traditional business. And I one day want to build, a massive empire, a massive company, but I just didn't have the skills. I know I don't have the skills at the time. So I wanted to join a startup. So I reached out to 10, 20, 200 companies on AngelList, Crunchbase, all of these different platforms where startup founders will host their startups. And I reached out just being like, listen, my name's Ian Lenhart. I did this thing with this network marketing company. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll work for free. I just want to be involved early on. Eventually got plugged in with a company called Chewy, which is now TrueFace, became the first employee, and just put in the grind. Was making, $500 a month for the longest time. Nothing crazy, but working in and out. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, that led us getting into the 500 Startups Accelerator program, which is one of the top 3 accelerator programs in San Francisco. And it was life-changing for me. It was basically startup school. It's like you're going to school to learn how to scale and build a startup. And what's unique about that program was there was like 26 different countries represented inside of our cohort. So I was meeting people from all over the world, and it was so cool because I just loved all the different cultures. We used to have these beer nights or whatever, or different themed cultures beer night. It was just a good vibe, good time. And that got me interested in doing just interviews. So I started interviewing people on Facebook. And I was just, just like we're doing right now, I just was asking, how did you become successful? What did you do? And that ultimately is what led to me being like, well, what's this podcasting thing? And I saw all these other successful entrepreneurs, especially out of LA, I'm based in Santa Monica, running these podcasts. I'm like, well, they must be onto something. I said, let's try podcasting. And I didn't know what I was doing. And to be quite frank, Tanya, my sole intention when I started podcasting was just to meet incredible people and befriend them. You know how you talked about you're finding your niche, and we're really jumping into it? In your course, the Ultimate Branding Blueprint, you talk about you really got to find a niche and market to them. Personally, I could not figure out my niche. I was into so many different things. Scuba diving, marine biology, entrepreneurship, online marketing, startups, network marketing. So my sole intention when building my podcast was just to force myself to reach out to the top people inside of all of the fields that I was interested in, with the sole intention of befriending them and not worrying about vanity metrics. And what happened was because I did that way, I started having success. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, naturally. So, I mean, you put in the effort, doesn't matter where or how, you're going to see something out the other end of all of that. So have you figured out, and I would assume that if you're interviewing all these people on these podcasts, you're learning so many cool stories. And through those stories, you might be discovering what your niche or passion or interest might really be. So have you given any thought to that, or what does life look like now as far as who do you really want to serve with your content and with your courses and with your brand that you've built over the last little while?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I realize that my niche is multiple niches. My niche is Ian Lenhart. I'm myself, and I'm into the certain things that I'm into, right? You can build a podcast based around a niche. You could be like, I could call myself the car guys, and you're expecting me to talk about cars the whole time. Or I could talk about the side hustle school, and you're expecting me to talk about ways to make alternative income. Or you can just use your own name. This is Ian Lenhart, and I define what that brand is. You get to define what your brand is by using your own name. So ultimately, I think that I'm always growing, down the road, maybe 2 to 3 years from now, I'll probably end up getting more niche with my podcast. But for now, I'm just riding the wave. I am having a good time. I'm exploring intimate topics with incredible people that really challenges the way the average person thinks. And if you can extract all the how you look at an iceberg and you see the top 10% of that iceberg, but everybody knows the Titanic. You got to watch out for that other 90% of that iceberg. My goal is to uncover that 90%, because personally, I'm going through the journey. I've made a few big steps in my life, but I'm still new to the game. So by interviewing amazing humans, you literally get an hour-long coaching call on how to upgrade and build your network, build your business, which is just so much fun.
That's cool. So what is one of the most profound questions that you ask? Now, I'm sure that you have a list of questions that are like kind of staple, and then you kind of flow around those questions in that format when you have a guest come on the show. But what is one of the most profound questions that you ask that you found that by asking the people that you're interviewing, you've learned the most from?
That's a great question. And the answer is very simple. I only have 2 questions that are staple questions on my show. Everything else is free form. It's just like free flow. I used to have written out questions.
Like Joe Rogan style.
100%. Yeah, I love that. I used to do it that way, though, when I was really nervous. And it's okay to start like that. But then once you get more comfortable, you realize like you're not going to have a heart attack. You're just having a conversation. You're having a cup of coffee with somebody. It just happens to be recorded, right? Once you get into that mindset, you're like, I'm feeling good. I'm in flow. But the 2 questions that I asked, the first one is, if you could go back in time, back when, say, you're right out of college, and you could have told yourself 1, 2, or 3 things that would have saved you a ton of time, money, heartache, or headache, what would those things be? And it can't be, I wouldn't have told myself anything because it made me who I am today, which is a great answer. It's a fantastic answer. But we make them uncover that juice. Because it always comes down to this. Like, once we untap our power, we realize, like, damn, what if we untap that power 5 years earlier or a decade earlier? And I think those tips are the most, like, just freaking money tips for people that are listening, depending on where they're at in their stage of life. It just really requires self-reflection. And the second one is, what would you say to that person that's right on the cusp of jumping into entrepreneurship for the first time? Whether that be starting a podcast, joining a network marketing business, building your online business, doing a startup. What would you say to that person that's just, they're bottled up? They're like a balloon and they're blowing. How do you pop that balloon and make them send it, right? And I love those answers. You always get that juicy. And you want to know what a lot of people say? When it comes to building your business, consistency is the name of the game. I have learned that it does not matter if you're the best looking human on the planet, you have the best podcasting voice, like my buddy Bob Heilig. I'm always telling him, I'm like, he's like the white Morgan Freeman. His voice is just so perfect. I mean, like, not everybody has that voice. It doesn't matter. It just matters that you are consistent and you can maintain your schedule. Eventually, you'll find your tribe, you'll improve. And that's why B- work changes lives. If you can get B- work out consistently, you'll ultimately be able to upgrade it.
Cool. Well, I like now. So let's shift gears just a little bit. So and talk about like why podcasting and who it might really be for. And this is something that has been going around in my head for a long time because I don't have a podcast yet, I guess you could say. I've been really thinking about it, and I want to share with you guys like why I've been thinking about it and the means of consistent content that I've decided to deliver to my people is through YouTube TV episodes, right? So Tanya Eliza TV show lives pretty much on YouTube, and then we take that content, we also put it on the blog, and the same content goes out on Facebook. And I always thought about doing a podcast, number one, because I listen to podcasts and I always like to attract people like me. So what do people like me do? Well, I listen to podcasts because when I'm getting ready in the morning, I can multitask. I can put on a podcast. I was listening to a podcast this morning. And interestingly enough, the podcast that I was listening to this morning was The Mind of George, and it's George Bryant's podcast. I love his podcast. It's newer. And he's a great friend of mine, but when he was doing the podcast this morning, it was a 39-minute podcast about structuring your morning and your day for success. And he was hosting the podcast from his car. So he was just recording it from his car. He took the recording and, he had to drive like 40 minutes to go see his family. So he's like, why don't I multitask and create this content? And I'm thinking, and not to discredit doing video because video is very powerful. Obviously, there's a reason why I've done it, but every time I have to, do a video episode or do a Facebook Live, like you got to set up, you got to get the lighting right, you got to get the camera right. For the women out there, we got to do our hair and our makeup. And then by the time we do all that, we're tired and we're like, do we really want to do video anymore? It is very powerful, and I'm not discrediting video, but I'm thinking if there's a person out there that is a little intimidated or doesn't have the time for video or whatever the excuse might be, podcasting, seriously, if it's the only thing that you're going to do to get content out, it's a great thing to do, because I mean, it has I think a very similar effect to video. Sometimes even more powerful, because people take it with them everywhere they go versus not taking my videos with them everywhere they go, right? Because you can't watch a video while you're driving the car, but you can listen to a podcast while you're driving the car. And I think a lot of people are really going like the podcast route. So these are all the things that I have been thinking in my head when it comes to, should I do a podcast? Should I not do a podcast? And I have come to the conclusion that, by 2021, we will have some sort of podcast out there, which will be kind of cool. Yeah, I know, right? And so even if it's taking the same kind of content that we do in video and then producing it for a podcast so that we can entertain the people who listen to podcasts who maybe don't listen to video, and give them another way to interact with the brand and get exposure for the business. What do you think as far as like podcasting goes? Like, who do you think the best people are for podcasting? How would somebody go, well, if they're thinking, should I do video? Should I do podcasting? Should I do this? How would you give them like some instruction and direction based on your experience?
Great question. And just for your situation, I watch Tanya Eliza's videos and they are amazing, right? But
you.
I like Tanya Eliza's Instagram stories where she's just being authentic, where she's just drinking that glass of wine and just being herself.
Everybody always likes the drunk Tanya Eliza. I don't even know why. I don't even know why.
It's just loosey-goosey, it's authentic, it's genuine, and obviously you're always those things, but when you're not on camera, you tend to be more loose. And when you're doing a long-form podcast, you just are more loose. So let's answer that question. It's a great question. It's going to be a little bit of a long-winded answer, but let's start off number one. Podcasting is the new blog, okay? We live in this squirrel economy where most people aren't going to read a 10,000-word blog post. Right? Like, it just takes a lot of focus. And when you're getting pings, dings, dings, all of these social media apps are stealing your attention, it's just very challenging, which is why Audible has had such a huge surge. So another thing about podcasting is it's one of the best forms of content that you can repurpose across every social media platform. Now, anytime you put out a piece of content, it's kind of like a lottery ticket. When I put out a lottery ticket, there's a chance that one piece of content goes viral. Now, if you can take a podcast, which could be 50 minutes long, it could incorporate video and audio, whatever you'd like, or just audio, you can then repurpose that into different little chunks, into promo images, into promo videos, and you can utilize it for so much. You can break it down to like 6 to 10 pieces of content. That gives you 6 to 10 pieces of lottery tickets that can potentially go viral. And if you go viral, Tanya knows this best. You get new customers, new leads, new humans that you get to interact with, which is amazing. But like you said, anybody that hates doing video, for sure. My audience actually consists mostly of females, and they, when they're doing their video, that sometimes they got to put on a face, and that's tough. That's tough to have that burden. So in the time that it takes for you to glam all up and get all, looking fly, you could have done like 3 to 5 different podcasts. That's just number one. Number two, the name of the game is getting people to listen to your content, right? That's why Instagram created Instagram TV, because they want to do more long form content. So how do you get in your people's ears all the time? If you can get in your people's ears, you're building trust, you're building connection, just like you teach in the Ultimate Branding Blueprint. You're building credibility with your audience. Think about it. If you had 50 episodes and someone listens to 25 of those episodes at 30 minutes apiece, 25 times 30, anybody that's great at math, that's like 12 hours or 24 hours of content that they've listened to you. Some of your best friends probably haven't even listened to you that much. So that's really cool, the genuine connections. Anyone that's looking to increase their authority amongst their peers is another one. For me, I knew that if I surrounded myself with enough super successful humans, by the law of association, people start associating you with those people. And that's a great way to kind of launch up with somebody else. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's like by kind of clinging your brand into somebody else's brand, cross-promoting, you're able to build up. Like the YouTube world's huge with that. YouTubers will collab that are in the similar space, like 20,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, and they'll collab and launch up. With podcasting, you now have something that you can leverage, and that leverage is your key to success here. And if I can offer you something, like I'm not just going to take, I'm offering you value. You get to pitch my listeners of my podcast. I can now climb a few ranks up where I'm at currently. And I can land some awesome humans. So I think that's really, really big. And lastly, it's anybody that wants to upgrade their network. I think your network is 100% your net worth. If it wasn't for my relationship with you, Tanya, I wouldn't be here today. And I'm so grateful for that. If I never reached out to you to have a podcast a year and a half ago, I would have never got convinced to buy the Ultimate Branding Blueprint on the podcast that you shared with me. I would have never got my website up. I would have never started realizing getting those small wins. You get a few small wins consistently, all of a sudden you made it. You're there. And lastly, anyone that just has a lot to say, right? How many of you guys just want to talk? You're like, listen, I got a lot to say, homies. If you got a lot to say and a lot to teach and a lot to build up, podcasting's a no-brainer for you. So that was a long-winded answer, but there's a lot of reasons why podcasting.
Yeah, I want people to make the right decision for themselves in where they start or where they go next. I think also maybe if you already have a brand elsewhere, it's a really great extension and another piece of real estate and another way to serve your audience in a different way, maybe a real behind the scenes. Ian and I were talking on the phone the other night, and I was telling a story of just my dog life now. We got 3 dogs now because my boyfriend has 2. I've got 1. So we were talking about like the dog life, and we were talking about the new house that I just bought and we're moving in. We got to do some things. And he's like, this is what people want to know, like the behind the scenes information. Like if you can find a way to get that message out, I mean, the more you let people see you or hear you, right? People are going to build a stronger relationship with you. And that is what you need to make sales and to build a team or, amplify your business and grow your business. So I want to get into a couple things more. But before I do, you guys know if you tune in each week to Tanya Eliza TV, that we like to equip you with a free resource that goes with the episode that will help you with what we're talking about today. So since we're talking all about podcasting and you're maybe sitting there analyzing, should I do podcasting? What does it entail? Maybe this is a really good option for me to create content and get in front of people and grow my business and my brand. We put together a really cool gear guide for you. So this is a question that we get asked, or at least I get asked all the time when I do video. And so I said, people are probably going to ask the same when they're thinking about podcasting is, what do you need to start a podcast? Like what type of gear do you need and what do you recommend? So I asked Ian, I said, Ian, would you mind sharing some of your beginner gear guide things that people might need to look at to start a podcast, and then maybe advanced as well. If maybe people really want to skyrocket it to the next level, maybe they already have a podcast and they want to take that to the next level. So what we did was we put together a beginner to advanced podcasting gear guide for you. So it basically shows you all the things that you need or the minimal things that you need to start a podcast. And so if you guys find value in that and you want to go look at what our gear guide entails, we put that together for you. And thank you, Ian, for helping with that. And it is ready for you on the blog at tanyaeliza.com/213. So also we'll leave a link directly to the blog wherever you're watching this video in the description area above or below the video. And if you're already on the blog watching this episode, there'll be a big yellow button right below this video here where you can request free access to our podcasting gear guide. And we're so excited to have that ready for you and beautifully designed for you and your possible podcasting journey. So I hope that you guys like that and I hope that you pick that up. It'll be very valuable to you in your business. One of the things that you will also see in that gear guide and you'll also see in the show notes is Ian has recently put together a complete A to Z program on starting and growing your podcast. If you want to start a podcast, the best way to do it is follow somebody who has done it quite successfully. And so Ian has had some extraordinarily famous people on his podcast and has learned so much and has piggybacked off of their credibility and authority, which has helped his credibility and authority. And there are certain dynamics to knowing how to get these people on your podcast, knowing how to produce the podcast, how to get it out there, and then how to grow it with a consistent podcasting schedule. So he has this new program that he came out with. And once I saw it, I was like, Ian, I need to be able to share this with my people. Would you mind? Because I know I get asked all the time about podcasting. I don't have 90 episodes of podcasting like you. You are the best person to share with my people how to start podcasting. Can I share your program with my people? I said, oh my gosh, absolutely. Thank you. So in the show notes and also in that resource, you guys will also see Ian's course. What do you call it? Network podcasting? Isn't that cool?
I like network marketing, network podcasting.
Network podcasting. So if you really just want a guide to walk you through all of the steps of starting your podcasting journey, we're going to leave a link for you to go and check that out. And Ian could be your guide if you want to start podcasting. And I suggest that you rather than figure it all out yourself, have somebody who's already done it successfully show you the ropes so you can avoid the pitfalls and the mistakes, and you can just get right on to where it is that you want to go with your podcast. So Ian, thank you for allowing me to share that with my people. Thank you for creating that. I know it's not any small feat creating a program. I know because I've created a bunch myself. There's a lot of work that goes into that. And also you're sharing some of your prized secrets that you're using for your business and your brand freely to people inside of the course and inside of the program, which is very gracious of you. So very cool that you put that together, and congratulations, by the way, and I'm excited to offer it to my people.
Yeah, and I'm going to segue this into another question you wanted me to talk about, and that's basically how did you map out your podcast?
Yes.
To be quite frank, I did not map out my podcast. I just went full cowboy on it, and I didn't take a course, I didn't take a class. I was on YouTube, all these different videos, so much different sources, and I just started giving it a shot. And if you go back on my podcast, you'll see, as the episodes increase, the quality gets better, the mics get better, the format gets better. And that's, something I'm very prideful of, because just like I said, B- work changes lives, get started. But I wish that when I started, I had that, hand-holding A to Z podcasting course. But I think beyond the course, yes, content is king, but I think community is even more important. If you build a really, really amazing community of supporters, those people will make sure, hold you accountable, and get you to that next level. And along with the network podcasting course, we have an amazing Facebook community where we do office hours every single week, where you literally get a lifetime access to pick my brain on any questions. And I think that's very unique inside of the field, be able to have that one-on-one access. So the course has already been changing some awesome people's lives, and it's so empowering when you see somebody just step into their power and all they needed was some guidance. And you're the queen at offering amazing content and courses, so you know what I'm talking about.
Thank you. But I believe that, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So it's up to you to doing the hard work. We can provide the information, but our students and our viewers, they have to do the implementation, which is the hardest part of it all, right? Learning's easy, implementing and staying consistent with that. And then, so this leads me into one thing that I know is going to be very powerful for business owners watching this right now, people that have products, services, or businesses that they're promoting. So let's say you have a podcast, right? And I love talking about this because you do it perfectly. And the people that are successful at podcasting do it this way as well. So obviously, if you guys, a lot of my viewers know my course, Ultimate Branding Blueprint. It teaches you how to build your brand through having your own blog and website, but obviously you have to put content on there. So podcast can be a piece of content that you put on the blog. For those of you that don't want to do video, you just want to have your podcast be a blog post, that's what you would do. You would take that recording, that podcast that you did, and you would embed it on your blog, and that would be a piece of real estate inside of your brand as well. So I love how it goes congruently very well with the programs that I teach. It's just another modality of doing content and putting it up there. So, at the very least, if you're a busy person, you would want to do and have one podcast a week that you launch on your blog or in your just podcast portfolio. But Ian, I want you to paint a picture So a lot of my audience is in network marketing, right? They got products, services that they sell, businesses that they're promoting and recruiting into. So if somebody had that, say, for example, like a health and wellness company that they were a part of, and they were like, okay, I'm going to use the podcast to grow my network and grow my business. How would that look? Like, what kind of podcast episode would correlate well with serving that goal for them? Like, can we paint a picture on how they could make that work for the business and a sale popping out the other end? Because we don't want to just be doing content and then like, yeah, we got a bunch of content, but like no sales. I'm very purpose driven in everything I do. So how would that look for somebody in, let's say, that example of a network marketing company?
That is a fantastic question, and I'm deep in the network marketing world, so I do this currently. And a lot of it has to do with bringing on, so for example, let's say two different ways. Let's start with bringing on a guest. A great way of sharing something is bringing on a guest that's an expert in that field and basically picking their brain about the specific topic and then looping in a call to action similar to what Tanya does on her blog. So you could have a call to action to go check out the website, check out your freebie. You could actually create a custom URL specific for that actual episode, which is really cool because you can buy a domain for like $1.99 and you could be like, hangoutwithtanya.com, whatever it is. And you can aim people there. So you basically segue people over. So by bringing in an expert, you're basically talking about the subject, which brings it up in people's minds. The second thing is also you could bring on the founder or the creator of the product you're promoting. Now, this is really, really good for specifically like people that are using discount codes or promo codes to sell something. Because basically, if you bring on the founder, you can interview the founder on your show. And that by doing that, your audience is going to get really comfortable and like sort of the likability and trust factor is going to build with that person. And now you have a lot more leverage to be able to ask at the end to check out your course, check out your product, check out this. But the name of the game is building that relationship, getting people to listen to your content and being seen as an expert in health and wellness. If you're all about health and wellness, go to Quora.com, Quora.com, type in the topic that you're interested in, and start reading all of the answers that people are talking about. Quora actually ranks the top answers inside of any category, so you can see, read, and learn what it is your audience already likes. And you can use that as a template. And the second thing is if you're doing it yourself, again, you just want to make sure that you are positioning yourself as that offer, as that expert. And if you offer enough value, you can then ask for something in return.
Totally. Yeah. And I was hoping that you would answer that exactly like that. I love it because that's how I would do it. If I was doing podcasts, it would be the same way as the flow of my Facebook Lives or my videos. You're leading with value and then you're building your reciprocity bank, right? And then your goodwill and value out in the world will equal an infinite amount of sales. I always say that your bank account is reflective of the amount of value that you put out into the market space. However, with that value, you also have to have very strategic, specific calls to action, and you need to follow up with those as well. So I'm really happy that you said that. So that's really cool. Okay, so that's and would you say like I know somebody's going to be asking in their head. I'm trying to always get into the head of my audience, right? Somebody's going to say, well, how time intrusive, like setting up a podcast, getting it out there, like if I'm just getting started and I just want to get content out there, how much time would it take to actually get out there and, get this going? Like, is this like a year of my life I need to figure out podcasting and then like all this, or like what does that look like for somebody to help them?
Amazing question, because when I first started podcasting, it took up so much of my life. I used to edit every episode for 3 to 4 hours, making sure every is out, and it just kind of drew me mad and made me not like podcasting. And the reality is, podcasting can be as simple or as complex as you'd like it to be, right? Like, I could simply, some of the best podcasts are people that are just pulling out their phone and just talking into the voice memo app on their phone.
Yes, I love those podcasts. Like, people are in the car talking, not edited, not fancy. It's just out there. I love it.
Exactly. And like, basically, you can take that out. You can take that, podcast, and you could just post it to an RSS feed to a podcast host and then you share it out to all of these different feeds all across the universe where podcasts are shown. It can be as simple as that, or it can be as super complex. And like that's what we talk about a lot inside of our course. So you can the marketing is where it gets complex, to be quite honest. Because like, for example, with our show, we create a blog post with every single podcast, which if you go to ianlenhard.com and check out like you'll see the actual blog posts. We create an Instagram TV with every blog post. We create promo images. We create a lot of different content that's geared towards the listener. We also do video and audio, which adds a whole nother complex dimension, which I will tell you right now, if you're just trying to get into podcasting, don't do video, just do audio. Like just talk to the phone, people. You don't need to make it too complicated. Once you can consistently do audio for like 10, 20, 30 episodes and you feel comfortable with it, then add something to the pancake stack. Because if you add too much, you'll get overwhelmed. And I know that when I was building my own website, I got so overwhelmed when I would like try to do it all in one night. And it just like blew my brain out, right? Thank God I had Ismarie. But the fact is that you need to take it piece by piece. Start with the audio. And again, don't overcomplicate the complicated. All a podcast is a recorded conversation. Remember that.
Yes, I love that you said that. Yeah, it's building blocks. So it can be as very simple as, an hour to a week, and then you can get more complex. Once you learn this thing and this is going on autopilot, you got a system, then you add this thing. It's the same thing for us. Like we didn't always have everything as fancy as we have today. It just builds on top of each other every year or every month that you get better and better. So, okay, I want to get into some rapid fire with you, Ian, if you don't mind, so that my audience can get to know you on a little more quirky personal level. And then I want to wrap it up by giving them a couple of freebie calls to action. I want them to be able to take action on learning how to podcast if they want to. So, are you ready to go?
Let's do it. Hit me with it.
What is your favorite food?
I'd probably say chicken parm or acai bowls.
Ooh.
I used to rate acai bowls on
Yes,
my
you
Instagram.
did.
I know every acai bowl within 20 stores around here. But, oh man.
Chicken
Acai
parm
bowls.
acai bowls. Okay, I love it. What is your biggest pet peeve that you can think of in life?
When people are late, that's for me, that's tough. And it's hard, especially if you guys are into the dating world, because you don't, expecting to be 30, 45 minutes late. Like if you go out to the bars, it's like a lot of my friends want to leave at 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I'm always like, why? Why don't we just go at 8? Like, why do we got to show up so late? I don't like this fashionably late deal. I am on time. I'm 15 minutes early. So try not to be late around me.
I'm late all the time. Oh my gosh. Okay, I got it. Duly noted. Favorite type of music?
I'd say like deep house music, mostly like a little like a deep like.
Cool.
But like I also change it up. If I'm cooking, I rock some like Italian music and I set the theme. Or if I'm really like cigar or just like chilling out, a little bit of Dean Martin is in the house. Really getting the mood set. So I'm very multifaceted, but I just can't do country. That's the only thing I can't do. I don't know. I'm just not into it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, twanging country hits a little nerve chords over here as well. I feel ya. If you were stranded on an island, I love this question. You can only bring 3 things and not people not included. What would they be?
Great question. If you ever watched the show Naked and Afraid, I always think about this. Like, what would be my one thing that I would bring? And I know hands down, it would be a mosquito net. I would tap out instantly because of the mosquitoes. If I'm just getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, I'm done. I'm not making it more than a day. I'm like, this is over. But the mosquito net will double as a fishing net, so I can fish and then protect myself at night. So think about that one. There it is. Number two, a fire starter. If I'm cold, I'm done. I'm tapping out. No way. I need to be warm. I love hot tubs. I don't like cold water. Like I'm a warm, cold-blooded animal, right? So that's number 2. Number 3 would probably be the internet. If I could just bring the internet with me, that'd be great. But realistically, we probably can't do that for this example. So I would say a pole spear. I love scuba diving and spear fishing. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. But if I could just dive down, assuming this is a tropical island, and I could hunt and feed myself with some fantastic tuna, then all day pull spear. So those would be my 3 things for survival.
Okay, well, you are on my apocalypse team. I will be recruiting you for that you are very, very prepared on that. What is the one most embarrassing moment that you can think of that's happened to you in life?
You know, there's so many that, like, I was even thinking about this question. And some of them are just way too raunchy. So we'll keep this one dedicated to podcasting because that's the subject. My biggest interview was with number 8 BK Breakout. It was like a life-changing story. And it was early on in my podcasting career, and I had recorded an episode with BK that was like an hour long of absolute waka flocka flames. And I knew this was going to be the biggest story that's ever hit the network marketing universe. And when I listened to the recording, I didn't have 2 separate tracks, and the audio was gained. So the audio was just me deep breathing, like, I freaked out. I was so upset. I ended up calling BK, just being like straight up, like, listen, the audio sucks.
Yeah.
We got to do this again. I flew to Arizona and we did it in purpose, and it was absolutely beautiful. So that was my most embarrassing moment. Make sure you hit record on the recorder, and make sure you record 2 separate tracks when recording a podcast. That's like some major secrets right there.
Yeah, I have done that many a times. Forgot to hit record, went and did a whole video. Yeah, been there. It's part of the process. And what is one of your biggest business accomplishments that you can think of to date?
Hands down, network podcasting. I mean, like you said, you put your heart and soul into a course. And I mean, it's a reflection of who you are as a person. I trapped myself inside of this room for 2 months. Like, no joke. Writing out every single tip and then detailing the videos. We have over 49 actual lessons, over almost 65 videos, 10 and a half hours of edited content. And anybody that, edits content knows that's wacko. That's a lot. But yeah, that's my biggest accomplishment. I love helping people get to that next level. I love getting those messages that, I contributed to somebody else's goal. And I think, like, when you have that meaning in life, that's it. Because I always talk about, like, you can make all the monies in the world. You can be on the top of the mountain, straight Kanye Weston. But if you're not with good people, if you're not with, like, good humans, what's the point? My dad always says, you could eat $100 steak or a $10 steak. It depends on who you're with. The taste depends on who you're with.
Ooh, I like that. That is so good. Dad is so wise. I love it. Well, I am so happy that we got to spend a little bit of time together. And you guys, please make sure to pick up the freebie that we put together with today's episode for you. We put a lot of work into that. Ian's got some incredible resources when it comes to beginner's gear guide to podcasting, and the advanced podcaster's gear guide essentials are going to be in there for you. It's absolutely free. It's ready for you, nicely designed over on the blog at TanyaEliza.com/213. We will leave a link for you above or below this video in the description area, so that's an easy access link for you. When you're on the blog, there'll be a big yellow button right below the video. Make sure to click it and get the resource, and then we'll also include a link so you guys can go and check out Ian's new course, Network Podcasting. And you guys, I've heard some really good things about it, and that is why I am sharing it with you. You guys know that I am typically very stingy with what I like to share with my audience because it's a reflection of my brand and my business. And I want to take care of you guys with the best content and the best courses and the best information for you and your business. And I put my full stamp of approval on Ian's stuff because he's absolutely amazing and he has a huge heart and he does want to help you succeed. And I truly believe that. If you guys did find value in today's episode, please make sure to share this with your people. If you know anybody that wants to start a podcast, or if you have a team that you think would find value in our stories or this information today, make sure to share it, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. And I will see you guys on the next episode of Tanya Eliza TV. Ian, thank you so much for being with us this week. We truly appreciate you inside of our community and all that you do. And thank you for your time today, buddy. I truly appreciate you.